Good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Lall Show tonight, where the publisher of Kaieteur News discusses with you the management of your patrimony. Kaieteur News has taken a principled stance in exposing how locals and Guyanese at large are being shafted in the management of this industry. I am your moderator for tonight's proceedings, Kimal King, and we will also be joined by my colleague Michaela Prince shortly. Tonight, the publisher has yet another impassioned delivery to make to you tonight, so I will not waste any time. Mr. Lall, good night, and what do you have to say to the people?
Thank you. We just played a beautiful piece of information there with one of the best journalists that I have heard for the last 50 years. She's no other than Rachel Maddow. I love to listen to this woman every night. She is one of the best. She brings out what the American media doesn't give you. Just like Kaieteur News. What the Kaieteur News gives you, no other news agency brings to you. And she would have put it very beautifully when she talked about the vice president and the president of Equatorial Guinea. You guys heard her. So I'll be doing a special program on that very soon. But I just want to tell you, yesterday was Valentine, and I don't know how many of you enjoyed it or how you spent it. I did not enjoy it because of 4 things on my mind. The first thing I wake with was my Trinidadian friend who had taken a turn for the worst. I told you he's 71 years old, caught the COVID, and was hospitalized. Up to yesterday, it wasn't a very good sign, but I said everything is left in the hands of the Creator. All we can do is pray for him. This morning, I was told he passed away. The 7 weeks we spent together, I know he was feeling pain in his heart. Not because he was sick. He wasn't. But what he saw happening to us with those oil contracts. I told you guys he worked 34 years in the oil sector in Trinidad and Tobago. And he would have known, he would have learned so much. He would have seen it all. And not a day we spent together, not a single day passes by without him saying, Glenn, boy, all you have to get this contract changed. And change now, as quickly as possible. You have to hear, Guyana, you have to hear the emotions in him as he spoke. He was bleeding inside for all of us, all Guyanese, with that deal. I thank him for all the knowledge he imparted in me. And I do know he is in a better place. The second thing, yesterday, Valentine, I attended a funeral of one of my journalist's brother who was stabbed to death by 3 brothers over a little football argument. Another sad story. He is in the graveyard, and now 3 brothers are in the prison yard. Things like this will continue to happen because of the lack of knowledge, not enough schools, no proper educational institutions, no proper salaries for teachers, making them running overseas in search of a better life. Where our money is going, how it is being spent, and who is grabbing up it all. Those type of incidents, Guyana, could have been avoided if only we had proper learning institutions to teach our youths to become better citizens. Instead, our leaders spending $800 and $900 million for build a school when you can build 9 schools with the same money and pay teachers better. The third thing is a court award. The court awarded $10 million against Kaieteur News for defaming a man named Winston Brasington, a man who has done so much to this country and its people. You can't talk. Lawsuits. I plan to appeal that judge's decision because I felt he was too harsh on Kaieteur News. If not, I will have to shut down the newspaper, especially this time we're going through. And the fourth and last thing was on my mind on Valentine's Day was ExxonMobil. Exxon and that deal. Had we received what Suriname bargained for, all of us would have been celebrating Valentine in fine style. But is the but. Our leaders sell us out for nothing. Hear it from the horse's mouth himself. Good night. And I want to wish all of you a happy Mashramani. The more the leaders open their mouths and speak, the clearer we see the sellout of the nation's wealth, the nation's patrimony. I had planned to talk about the oil contracts, how we can claw back much more money from it, how it can be done and how many countries have done it and get better deals for their people and country. But I changed that subject matter for another night because one of my staff sent me a 7-minute video of our Vice President, Dr. Maddow, in which he was interviewed by a man named Critic, who called himself a journalist. At first, I didn't want to listen to it, but my staff insisted that I listen, and I did. I will play it so you can hear for yourself what the Vice President says and how he said it. Before I play it, let me say this. I find it very strange that our Vice President, Dr. Maddow, is finding the time to spend hours with people like that, a non-journalist, who I regard as a social commentator rather than a journalist, who the Vice President can mambo and make rings around people like them. But he cannot find the time to come or to go to the real media houses with journalists and editors to talk about Guyana's interests and patrimony. Whether here nor there, Guyana, I am still happy that he had this interview so we can know how they're thinking and where they're leading us as a nation. So the news outfits and commentators can report and speak on it, what they're thinking and saying as leader in our government. I will be looking out for more so we can replay and or have this type of discussions. So please listen carefully what he said during that interview. What you're about to hear is only 8 minutes. He spoke on Guyana's oil during a 1-hour interview. That's the amount of regard the Vice President has for the oil sector. I will play it in 3 parts so I can respond to him nicely so we all don't get confused. So could you play?
I quoted some figures as to what our oil revenues are. Can you, and I asked this question before, but I want to remind Guyanese because there are persons out there who are painting a picture like gold, dust, and US dollars is going to fall from the sky as a result of the oil industry. And I think it is very dangerous. But what people want to know is, can you give a time period as to when Guyanese could start really relaxing and suggesting that yes, Guyana is benefiting from the oil industry? Because some are suggesting tomorrow, the next day.
Well, we will never be able to relax to the extent of stop working. I've heard some advocates, some of the same advocates, say that Guyanese should stop working. We're going to earn so much money that they all should get a check.
That is a symptom of the disease.
No. But that is that person who's been saying this, and it's been said by a prominent person over and over again, needs to have somebody cut open his head and see if there's a missing part. Because we're never going to be able to stop working. Let me put it bluntly, Guyanese, because of oil money. We always have to work. This is nobody who comes to tell you that you don't have to work ever in your life. Again, because somehow you can get a check or something like that. That's utter nonsense. Now,
okay, you heard Vice President Dr. Jagdev there and critic. What picture is this man talking about? Kaieteur News exposing the giveaway of our gold, our diamond, our bauxite, and the lopsided oil contracts? Wait, is that painting a picture, guys? Is that dangerous? US dollars should have been flying into our homes by now, but it can't because of that contract, that oil contract. The oil wealth alone we have out there, none of us should be working. The entire world heading to Guyana. Here, yes, here as I speak, Fortune 500 is a magazine that lists the top 500 largest companies in the world every year. And all of them wants to come here. Some of them already here. The world is boasting about Guyana. There are many countries, US, UK, Canada, China, Australia, France, Germany, Europe, India, Kuwait, Dubai, just to name a few of them, the kingpins of the world, talking about Guyana and its richness. How much wealth we have out there. These countries, guys, have so much wealth. And guess what? Them ready to leave them own country and run here for our wealth. You know why, guys? Yes, people like the Vice President, Dr. Maddow, give it away for free. Those contracts, them sign. So many stories all over the world on Guyana and its newfound wealth. And what? What are we hearing from our Guyanese leaders? Nothing. You heard him just now. Some of them behave as if Guyana is not a country or does not exist. None of them boasting about our wealth, guys. Why? What they have done so evil, so that they are on the defense on any and everything we say. Just think. Ask questions. In Kuwait, every citizen collects a fat check. Dubai is the same thing. Qatar is no different. A matter of fact, Dubai have imported workers from Indonesia, Pakistan, Africa, and elsewhere to work for them. Their citizens hardly work. They're just the big boys walking around giving orders. Down to the police in Dubai is imported from Africa. I've been there, so I can tell you, I saw it for myself. In Qatar, the minimum salary for each citizen is no less than 4,000 US dollars. They get free health, free telephone, free water bill, free housing, free land. And if they end up in sickness and they can't treat them there, they're being paid. They're given money to fly overseas to seek medical attention. And their families' also expenses are being reimbursed. So what this guy is talking about, what our vice president is talking about, the vice president said how somebody should cut open my head and fix the missing parts. I laughed when I heard that. I will not stoop to the vice president's level by describing him the way he described that situation. I think I am bigger and I am better than that. You will decide after listening to both of us whose brain needs to be checked or fixed. Listen to the other part, the second part of what he said.
Guyana, first of all, has to benefit more. So that is why local content policy is so vital, to ensure that more jobs, higher paying jobs, and more business opportunities flow to our people. More money is spent here, so it can stimulate that, both directly and indirectly. And we're pushing these oil companies like never before. And they understand it, both the oil companies and the subcontractors. And we're not up. We're serious people. We're not up now. You're not gonna bring a little gift over to our office, or you're not gonna come and sweet talk us or get into stupid technical things and distract us from that narrow-minded focus. We've been at this for a long time, and we know how to deal with it. So we are pressing them like never before, and that's going to happen. We're moving next week to the public consultation on the local content, but even before that, and then legislation, but even before that, all of the the subcontractors who are busy bringing in people all the time, Trinidadians and everybody, to work at jobs that Guyanese can do, brokerage, a whole range of stuff. Now, for the past 4 months or so, since they've heard us, they've started looking. People say to me, oh, we used to run them down. Now they're coming to our offices all day long to want to partner with us. They're hiring more Guyanese. We see already what's coming. So that's the first phase.
Guys, I just sit here as I listen to him. My heart is in a jollyful mood. I just want to laugh. The Vice President said Guyana has to benefit from what? Jobs. You hear the Vice President talking about more jobs. What jobs this Dr. Jack Davis talking about, guys? We don't need jobs. Jobs is for poor people. But it seems that is the only word stick in their brains. Sometimes I want to think it's a mantra for Guyanese politicians. I've been hearing that all the time. When they had the Marriott, they have the airport, every project. It's like a mantra. And then he talk about business. What business this man is talking about? What business are we getting into? They have already given away all the businesses. We, the local people, me and you, Guyana, should have been getting involved with. All the fancy hotels. Who's building it? Dr. Jagdeo? Certainly not Guyanese. Look at the Houston Oil Service Center. Who owns it? And who is running it? Slumber J. Who is Slumber J? A foreign company. The people who are doing the helicopter services, foreigners. Foreigners doing it at Ogle. And guess what, Guyana? Not even a single local pilots is being employed there. Not even a local engineer is given a job there. What business and what jobs? Nobody is being employed there. So what jobs are you talking about, Vice President? You know, Guyana, he said they are serious people and that they have been at it a long time. Long time with what? We haven't heard a word in 6 years from none of y'all. Is now you guys coming out talking one and wanting. Other than that, you guys were silent. You guys were nowhere to be seen. 5 years now, the Kaieteur News have been publishing stories upon stories upon stories every single day, warning all Guyana about the danger we faced ahead with our oil wealth. And what we ever heard from any one of y'all, Dr. Jagdeo? Absolutely nothing. No proper local content policy in place to date. No depletion policy. No ring fencing policy. No capacity to audit the spending out there. That's just to name a couple. And you guys talking about benefits? How are we getting that, may I ask? Vice President, Are you serious? Serious about what? All of you have done nothing in the last 6 years to put systems in place which would bring US dollars, real money in our pockets. Nothing. You guys have done nothing. Then the vice president talked about local content policy. Them start a public consultation today as I speak, on the local content policy, and telling you, the public, you got to go there by invitation. So why are you telling us it's an open public consultation, Mr. Jagdev? Guess when they sent out an invitation to the press? Yesterday afternoon. Yesterday afternoon to the press, and they call that a public consultation. You guys really believe they want people's input into that policy? Just think about it. Now they wake up about foreigners coming in and taking up local businesses by themselves and not partnering with locals. Now them getting ready to fix that. Had it not been for Kaieteur News and these radio programs, brothers and sisters, you would have never heard Brother Jagdev speaking on these matters.
Secondly,
Listen to the
money that
next
we're
part that
receiving
he said.
We got 200 million last year. 200 million, 40 billion. That's not that great amount of money when you look at the scheme of the budget. That can't fund all of our initiatives. If we give up a grant to every Guyanese, they'll get a couple of $100 a year, maybe a couple $2,000 a year, all the money gone, right? If you have to give 5,000, we just shared out the grant, right? The COVID grant.
25,000 cash grant.
And we had already 300,000, and then it would go up to 400, nearly 400,000. If we have to give $5,000 per year to a family, and you have 400,000 households, that's $2 billion per year we have to collect. We're collecting 10 times less now. We're collecting 200 million. So you understand, you can't give that. So if 10 times less, you can only give $500 per year for a household if you give out all of the money that we collect. And so that is and you have nothing for anything, nothing to education, nothing for healthcare, nothing for infrastructure. So they have to understand the magnitude. As the year.
Oh no, I think our vice president need a rest. He has been in politics for too long, spending 12 years as president, worked through Donald Ramatai regime, became the opposition leader, now become vice president. I think you need a rest. My friend, I think you need to take a rest. You telling us about money we can get? 200 million last year? Man, no man, no man, no man. And if you give a grant to all of us, you can get $2,000 a year? And that can carry away all the money we collecting? Come on, man. You got to be out your head. He say if you have to give 5,000 US a year for each household, if you got 400,000 household, it's $2 billion. He said, we collecting 10 times less now. We only collect 200 million. So if you collect 10,000 less, you can get $500 a year. And that is all the money you will be giving out. No money to do anything else. Don't build schools, no roads, no hospitals, infrastructure, nothing. But we will never have enough money as a country with all this wealth to say to people, you stop working. He says so, not Glenn Lall. He said that. Well, I want to tell our Vice President, a market vendor can take over that contract and make people stop working in this country, much less me, Glenn Lall. Let me head that oil project and I'll bring in $20 billion a year, in which every household will get $10 million a year, not $2,000. Guys, I can bring in $10 million a year in this oil business. It's a simple one. But listen to me carefully. They are not interesting about you and me. Them don't give a damn about Guyana. Their interest is only for them and their own pockets. If they left 55 billion US dollars on the table, and this is not Glenn saying this, international bodies are saying this, when they negotiate the oil deal, what do you expect? Every household Guyana could have collected at least $138 million from that $55 billion they left on the table. US, yeah. US. Let them do the maths. He's an economist. Or that 55 billion could have bought all the FPSOs for the Stabroek Block without having to go to the bank and pay interest. Instead, Guyana, them give away the $55 billion. The people using that money now pay for the FPSO, to which we are paying that as a loan with interest. This is the kind of smart leaders we have. The Vice President can't come and face real journalists who understand a little of the oil sector, especially we at the Kaieteur News. He chooses to find time to sit down hours talking to a man who just jump on social media and talk about who get killed, who get shoot, who get raped, and who is dead in accidents. Yes, that is the man interviewing him that doesn't know A to Z about our oil deal, our oil sector, and our oil contract. Listen to the last part, what he said.
There's progress when they pay off because of the nature of the agreement and no ring fencing. More resources will come in the latter part, maybe by 2025, 2026, going forward to 2030. But we'll never have enough money as a country to say to people, you stop working and you'll get free money. The whole country, all of our citizens must stop working. Nowhere in the world you have that. And some people believe that. I heard Mr. Glenn Lall saying that over and over again, that our Guyanese should not really be working with what we have out here. In any case, that's why on the program with him, I pointed out what it takes. The $20 billion being spent offshore, our total deposits in the banking system now, all the money we have in Guyana in the banking system is $2.5 billion. And only on the 3 FPSOs, they're spending $20 billion. So we don't have even the money to invest fully into these issues. So you have to have a realistic perspective on these issues, not a madman's perspective on the issue, because it would not be helpful. You mislead people a lot. Now we have to get more from the sector. We must press them. This belongs to us too. I agree with all of that. I agree we must press, fight hard for our country, our people, get more, spend more on our people, education, healthcare, scholarship, free education, good quality health services, specialty care for our children and our maternal persons, better security in our country. We have to spend on all of these things using some of the oil money. So but it takes a while to work to that. We're just fledgling now. This year we're going to run a huge deficit again because of the pandemic. So people have this generalized, that is something I've always fought for my entire career, both as finance minister, president, opposition leader, and now as vice president and general secretary of the PP, to have people have a realistic pathway to our future. If you have a realistic understanding of our challenges and how we get there, then you can understand where we're going and what are some of the constraints. But if you have this Alice in Wonderland type of mentality that, everything could be perfect because you say it could be perfect, or based on a misguided understanding of issues, then you just go out and say every day the government is duping people. I saw programs like that.
Dr. Javier, well put, and I think it's bringing a lot of clarity to what Guyanese are being misled into believing. I want to touch on crime. Major crimes seem to, I haven't looked.
There you go. That was the last part of his 1 second short, 8 minutes, speaking on oil in a full hour interview with that gentleman. And the things he listed, I really think and believe that our vice president need rest. He need to relax. He came back repeating the same mantra, the same crap about the $20 billion the people spend offshore. He said all the money Guyana got in the banking system is about $2.5 billion. So we don't have money to invest in them. I wish Dr. Maddow had run a little cake shop so that he could have understood a thing or two in business. Guys, brothers and sisters, we don't have to have money in the bank to buy FPSO. That is the oil people's business. So don't let him try to spin words around us about money. Guyana doesn't have money. Everybody knows if we had the money to bring up our oil, we don't need Exxon. Not true, man? Definitely. We don't need Exxon. Definitely. We don't need no oil company here. Those people have to buy the FPSO and bring them here with their money, bring up the oil and share with us. We didn't know that we have to invest there to bring up our oil. Had we known that, like I said, we wouldn't need Hess, CNOOC, and all these oil companies, or any one of them. We would have done it ourselves. We can buy that. That's available all over the world. All we had to do is pledge our oil fine to the bank and get whatever we want. Instead, brothers and sisters, we allow the oil companies, we allow Exxon to pledge our wealth. Listen to me carefully. Pledge our wealth. Yes. Borrow 20 billion US dollars in which we have to pay plus the interest. And we had no say. Can you imagine that, Guyana? You hear me, guys? Our oil company borrow $20 billion. We pay, and we ain't had no say on it. That is what the vice president telling us. And guess what? And them taking 98%. That money out there is our investment. I hope Mr. Jagdev knows that. That 20 billion they went and took from the bank, it's our investment. We are paying on that. And now they start bringing up the oil with our investment, them taking 98% and giving us 2%. That is what they're pushing down our throat. And our vice president seems to be very happy with that. He is not talking about the details. He is just talking about we ain't got money. That's the kind of economist we have in this land. Man, Guyana, this is the most dumbest thing. It's the most dotish thing I have ever heard in my life from a leader. And guess what? Guess what, Guyana? The same FPSOs that we are paying for, we ain't own them. We are leasing them, renting them. You hear me clearly? That money paid for the FPSO, we ain't own them. We are leasing. We are actually paying a rent on them per every year. And when the oil company is done, them pick it up and gone with it to another country to lease or to rent or sell again. Is our politicians and the vice president know that? He should explain that to all of us. This thing is so unthinkable. What's going on here with this oil deal? Guys, I sometimes wonder if you guys understand everything I say. Because I myself can't believe some of the things happening in this country, especially them FPSO and the agreements with them. It's unthinkable. I can't fathom it. I don't know which government or which persons, leaders with the right mind would sign on to things like that. Let me break down this thing in a very simple way so you guys can get it very clear. You have 500 acres of rice field to cut. You find a man who knows how to cut the rice. And the man went to the bank, pledged your 500 acre rice and take a loan in which he had to say, in which you had no say. You hear me? You had no say. This man get the loan, buy 3 combine and bring them to the rice field. Then tell you the loan and the interest for the combines, you have to pay that. Then he turn around and tell you, you ain't own them. You now have to pay a lease or a rent for them. Doesn't that sound crazy? Guys? Doesn't that sound crazy? Listen more. The man turn around and say he gonna give you picnic, them work, while he cutting the rice. Yes, them gonna be running around the rice field, loading up the rice bags on the combines. That's the kind of jobs your children will be getting. Jobs. Jobs. You hear this? The same thing Jagdev talking about. Jobs. And guess what? He cuts the rice. He cuts the rice. And every 100 bags he cut, he take 98 and give you two. That's Exxon and Guyana deal arrangement. You hear me? That's the arrangement between Guyana and Exxon. And wait, I ain't finished yet. Take a breath. A deep one. Yes. When the rice finish cutting, the man picks up the combines, walk away with them. Again, that's Exxon and Guyana's agreement. What these leaders sign on to. The same vice president that say, I is a madman. You guys got to decide who fits that description. He said for sure there is more to come from the sector, but he's not telling us what is more. That is what the nation needs to know, Vice President Jagdeo. How much more, where it's coming, and how it's coming. Let me tell you, Guyana, the more that will be coming will never be enough to take care of even half of our yearly budget. Much less put $1 in our pockets. I want to challenge him. Him and both finance ministers, Ashney Singh and Winston Brasing and Winston Jordan, to come and refute this, what I just said there. Oh, he's saying we got to spend more of the money on security, health care and education, and so on, using the oil money. He said that. He said we now starting out. We are just a baby. Well, let me say this, brothers and sisters. We're going to get old, we're going to die out, and there will be no proper health care. We're going to remain as dumb as we are, and crime will be more rampant. Trust me on that, Guyana. See where our US dollars goes. Just watch where it's going. Our oil, this is the oil bonanza country we live in. And see what we are getting. Nothing. Nothing. The most important thing for you talk about reviewing the oil deal that can really put money in our pockets. He and all them running, ducking, and hiding. Them just bob and weave whenever them hear the word renegotiation. A matter of fact, renegotiation for a better deal, that word is like a poison, not only for him, our vice president, but to all of them in the PPP, the PNC, and the KFC. Them know the deal what they sign. Yes, them know the deal what they sign. So renegotiation is a poison. Just think about that. When them hear that word, you want to think, or you want to believe, or you want to know if the parents just died and they're mourning. You hear me, Guyana? They're in total silence. For our vice president, going and sit down with a social commentator tells a lot of who he is and what he has done and will continue to do to this country. There is no realistic pathway or understanding with this. Mr. Jagdeo said so. His words, guys, not mine. This oil sector, like I said, is a simple one. You ain't got no realistic pathway or understanding. It's very simple. Give us a fair share of our wealth, Vice President Jagdeo. Let us have that. Let us make sure, brothers and sisters, that we demand that from them. We don't want to hear fancy languages about realistic pathways, challenges, and how we can get there. I need to know. The people of this country wants to know that they can benefit, so that they can become rich with the wealth that belongs to them. Right now, you and all the politicians are giving away the people's wealth, Vice President Jagdeo, leaving us and future generations to starve. Please, come on the radio with me and let's talk. The Vice President said Lall has an Alice in Wonderland mentality, that I think everything could be perfect because I say it could be perfect, based on a misguided understanding of issues. Wow. And the other man, critic, who did the interview, hear how he ended the program. Mr. Jagdeo, well put. And I think you bring a lot of clarity to what Guyanese are being misled into believing. I had to laugh when I hear that. I had to laugh. You know, he used to work with me, and he would have learned a lot. I am shocked at what he said. Maybe he didn't learn much. So let me say, my friend, let me say this. Kaieteur News door is still open here, so you can come anytime. Let me teach you a little more on business, rather than you misleading the nation as to their true value, their true worth. I always say, if a man can't stand up for something in his life, he will fall for anything in his life. That is where the commentator critic has found himself. I say this because I know him a bit. So I know what he stood for yesterday and what he has turned his life to today. He is now the mouthpiece of some of the leaders out there. Maybe, just maybe, he is now stretching his mouth with the soup dripping. I didn't say good night, but let me say good night to both of the gentlemen, the Vice President and critic, and wish you both, I wish you both can have more interviews. Come again. Let me hear from you. And don't let anybody send me the recordings. You can shoot it to me like you used to. I am ready like Freddy. I will not give up this fight until I see a better contract, so that all Guyana can live a comfortable life with their God-given riches. No. Every Guyanese deserves to wine and dine in fine style, drinking whiskey, red wine, and champagne, Just like how all those oil players doing it at the Pegasus, the Marriott and elsewhere. It's theirs, it's ours, and we should celebrate it too. What you say, Brother Jagdale, Brother Irfan, Brother Granger, and Brother Harmon? What you say? Guyana, renegotiation is like a poison to them. That is something we must get. And we must get it. Like my Trini friend said, Brother Glenn, you have to get it now. Don't wait for tomorrow. So let me say good night to all Guyana. I didn't say good night. And let's have this frank discussion continue. The phone lines are open, 226-7453, 226-7454. So let's get it rolling.
I believe we're extending the program then. Yeah,
Yes.
that was a pretty good presentation there, Mr. Lall. Thank you so much for that. We have a lot of viewership tonight on the Facebook Live, close to 900. I don't know what you did, Mr. Lall, but it's going up. We have a lot of comments too, not a lot of questions, but just a reminder that the listeners and the viewers can go to the Facebook page and you can shoot us a comment. Oh, we have a caller on the line coming through. Hi, good evening. You're on to Kaieteur Radio.
I'm on to Kaieteur Radio. I'm listening to our program.
Hello?
I'm listening to Kaieteur Radio.
Yes, go ahead.
you're on here.
Yeah, I have a program with Lall to speak here. Can I look it up the channel or call a comment or something?
Raise it.
Just hold on there, caller. We're having some issues.
I call back. I see you on the phone.
Go ahead.
I
Let
call
him
back.
see. Go ahead. He said call back. Let's go. Yeah, but
We lost that caller. He said he's going to call back in a couple of minutes, so... Yeah, we'll go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will continue the discussion here on The Glenn Lall Show.
Advisory: Major planned maintenance for Tuesday, February 16, 2021. In Georgetown, Self-Help Square, East Rheinveld and Envir from 9 to 15 hours. The reason for the outage is to transfer high voltage mains to 214M transformer poles and the retention 3 poles spam versus main, and to clear 2 pole spams and remove all poles. And in Berbice from Onverrock to Ithaca from 9 to 15 hours. And the reason for the outage is to create 4 selection poles for the commissioning of auto reloc closer and the transfer of high voltage and mainline hardware to 3 14M poles, and to service 5 and 3 SPAD switches, and to clean and remove all poles. And did you know that weekly planned maintenance allows for routine inspection and maintenance of the network to provide customers with a reliable supply of electricity? GPL, empowering you.
Welcome back to the Glenn Lall Show, where we tell it as it is. We have a caller on the line. Hi, good evening. You're on to Kaieteur Radio.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Good evening to Mr. Glenn and the panel.
Thank you.
I have been enjoying the program. What is concerning is you talk about Exxon wanting to get involved in business in Guyana, and I want to believe at some point this needs changing, because if I'm to start a business, and anywhere, no matter how small the business is, I would have to do a feasibility study to see if this business is productive. Then I go invest. the fact that Exxon is investing the country's money does not make any sense because Guyana stand to lose at the end of the day if Exxon is to pull out. Exxon technically is not investing in this country. Exxon is just wanting to get whatever they can get, and so I agree with what you're saying about Exxon raping Guyana of its wealth. And so the whole point again of you're calling for renegotiation. I would like to think that persons getting involved in a business would not want to renegotiate if the first negotiation benefits them. And so we can be calling for renegotiation all we want, but if whoever strike the first agreement realize that it's beneficial for them, maybe that's the reason why they do not want to renegotiate.
I hear you, caller. I hear you. But let me just tell you that the money invested out there, the investments is our investments.
Right.
And renegotiation, like I said, is like a poison to our leaders. We haven't heard any one of them said a single word in the last 6 years about renegotiation. The only thing you're hearing from them is that that contract has been set in stone. It's the sanctity of contract. It's the biblical days. You can't change that. That's all you're hearing. They are speaking just like the oil companies them. They are not speaking. They're not speaking like civilized people who are living in the 21st century today. They are not speaking like Trinidad and so many other countries who only yesterday spoke about renegotiation and got it. These guys are not even asking to have this contract renegotiated. And the only reason they will not ask because there is a little sotin. You know the word sotin? Sotin going in their pockets.
Right.
Or in their bank books.
Okay.
Every single day, week, month, or year. Before the program, I played a beautiful piece of what the president in Equatorial Guinea and his son and his wife and his wife's brother and all of them is doing to that country. How rich, how much money they collected. I think I'm going to play back that thing at the end of this program. So please listen to it carefully.
Okay.
And that's a news item came out from MSNBC, one of the largest media outfit in the U.S. From Rachel Maddow. She just put it very beautifully. And that has they have how she got the news item. They were caught putting in money in the president's bank account and the family's bank account. This is why the woman could have said that 75% of the people in Equatorial Guinea is living with less than 300 Guyana dollars a day there. But they are living so large. $3 million for one car. You got to see how much cars the son have. And I don't know, but I am seeing that is happening here already. Hence, they don't want to talk about any renegotiation whatsoever.
Yeah, but listen to this, Ms.
Yes.
I think we lost that caller.
Yeah, he's got a call back.
Okay. Do we have another call on the line? No, we do not.
Michaela,
Yes.
I think we're in trouble in this land. Having listened to the 7 minutes video of Mr. Jagdeo, the Vice President, Guyanese, I believe you guys are in trouble. And we have to really wake up our leaders and say, guys, no, we are not going to go down this road. This is not 60, 70 years ago. This is not 40 years ago. The president of Equatorial Guinea is running that country for the last 37 years. And he would have taken full control of that nation, in which he has full control over the army, the police, and everybody. So, a matter of fact, they had an election and he won. He won by 94%. So you can see how they're doing it, whether they rig it or they add another word in front, the R for the rig. That's what they do. So they stay there and they don't give a damn about the people. And not only Equatorial Guinea, Papua New Guinea, Nigeria, Angola, Sudan, every single where they have done that. And we have to understand that, Guyana. We have to know what's going on. And our leaders not saying a single word. A matter of fact, I have spoken only the last program on Suriname. I did a comparison on Suriname, what Suriname got as to what we got. Tomorrow we are carrying a story on Suriname. You want to talk a little about it?
Yes, but just before we get into that, we have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. You're on to Kaieteur Radio.
Hello, good evening, guys. It's Kiana from Kaieteur News. I'm tuning in from home. Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
You can go ahead, Kiana.
All right, so yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, the story that I wrote today for tomorrow's paper is based on Suriname proposing that that Guyana and Suriname work together on bringing the gas to shore. Is the caller back on the line again?
I'm still on the line.
Oh, Kiana. Hi, Kiana. Can you hear us?
We miss you today. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not there to join you guys in this national discussion, but I've been following from home while doing some research. I just wanted to comment and say that it's really unfortunate that we have to take time out, or that Mr. Lall has to take time out to address comments that are being made in some quarters, because I believe that at the end of the day, there are some really important matters that need to be discussed, like the one that was discussed today at the Arthur Chang Conference Center, where the draft local content policy saw its first round of consultations, and there were a number of matters that came out there that were raised by Guyanese, very valid concerns, and maybe that should have been where the discussion should have been heading. But it's sad that we have to take time out to respond to these matters, and I just wanted to contribute to this discussion that we're having tonight, that it's important that all Guyanese remain focused on the fact that the oil wealth belongs to all of us, and it's important that we stay focused on what the real matter is, which is to have everyone play a role in deciding how we are going to maximize a value for not just this generation, but for future generations.
Correct.
So I hope that in the future, all parties, all stakeholders, whether it is the vice president or whoever, that we continue to keep our eyes on the prize, because while we are having these sort of discussions about bringing down one person or talking about the other, ExxonMobil is working very aggressively to get value for its shareholders.
Yep.
So I just wanted to remind about that, because I think it's important that we keep our eyes on the prize.
Yes.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank
and
you. Thank you.
Continue
I
with the
agree.
discussion.
I agree with what you say, but I just want to add a little more, Kiana, that we don't have time. Time is against us, Guyana. I have said it many times. The technology today is not like 50 years ago or 60 or 100 years ago. Today, they can empty a barrel in a day. When 70 years ago, it would have taken them 40, 50 years. Today, they can empty it in a day. So we have to get what belongs to us today. not tomorrow. So we have to stand up and fight for a better deal now.
I have a new slogan for Kaieteur News. It should be, let's be more like Suriname. Let's get the same deal Suriname is getting. Let's be more like Suriname. Let's be more assertive like Suriname. Let's have leaders like Suriname. So let's be like Suriname. Let's be like our neighbors. Let's join our neighbor and demand from ExxonMobil, demand from the oil company what belongs to us. We the people, let's be like Suriname. Let's demand like Suriname. Let's get a better deal like Suriname.
You know, my journalist had an interview with the Suriname oil boss 2 weeks ago, and the things he have said, the guy just won my heart. I believe I want to leave Guyana and go live there.
I told you about that from the day one, Glenn.
You know, he talked about Guyana and Suriname should partner to put together a shore base, become a supply center in which Guyana and Suriname can benefit rather than these foreign companies coming in here. Tomorrow, this child wrote a story talking about Suriname wanting to partner with Guyana on this gas to shore project. You understand? So we both can come together and set this gas plant so that both countries can benefit. We can run it together. But let me tell you this, sir. Let me tell you this, Guyana. I don't believe in my heart that Guyana will allow any partnership with Suriname. Because, you know why? Suriname is too much of a straightforward people. They believe in doing things the right way, the honest way, in a transparent way. And Guyana doesn't.
But we are already CARICOM brothers, Glenn. We are Guyana, Suriname, we are CARICOM brothers. We should join together as CARICOM brothers to demand from the American oil companies what is best for us as CARICOM brothers. We could make life better for our Guyanese citizens, our CARICOM citizens. Glenn.
No, we can't demand from the oil companies. We have to demand
From our leaders.
Oil companies. We have to demand from the oil companies, but our leaders is allowing the oil companies to demand from us. That's where we are. It got to be the other way around. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Mr. Lall. We have a caller on the line. Hi, good evening. You're on to Kaieteur Radio.
A very good evening, Tiana.
Good afternoon.
I'm calling, but I saw.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, a very good evening. Yeah. I'm on the radio. I'm listening to your program, but it's a little bit frustrating when I listen to the comments by Mr. Granal about our government. Because we had a government before, the former government, which was the opposition now, and they didn't do nothing for the country. And for now, they are under looking now, saying certain things, bashing our former president, which is Bharat Jagdev. My name is Bharat. I'm not Jagdev, I'm Singh. But I'll tell you straight up. This thing is not about one people alone, or one, because I'm examining it for the entire nation. And yes, and I think with Mr. Granal comment, I think he can stand up for our country. But Jagdev has done so much for this country. Stand up for our country. I don't think certain comments, certain statements he made on this program is totally, I can't take it. It's totally nonsense. You know, not because you're in certain portfolio, there's higher standards, you could see certain things. But if I take out Bharat and put Granal in Bharat's shoes, he can't fulfill it. He can't do what that man has done. Nowhere.
Hear you. I hear you. Thank you. Thank you for
He
your.
can never do it. He will try for. I mean, I'm not backtracking him, right? But okay, I know you're trying. Thank you. But you understand?
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear. Glenal don't want to go anywhere. Glenal want to sit right here and tell all of you what's happening. That's my calling. That's what I was placed here on earth to do. To tell you, I am the mouthpiece. Let me be the mouthpiece. Let them be the leaders. All right? And once I be the mouthpiece and we can confront them and we can have this type of dialogue and discussion, we'll get them to understand. And they will change. They have to change. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Just to add to, or to point out something to that caller, and it's something that I usually see on the Facebook Live in terms of the comments about why Lall and why Kaieteur News was silent with the oil deals when they were in the government. I don't know, and this is something that we have repeated several times, and just let me reiterate. I don't know if these people who are making these comments have been reading the newspapers for the last 25 years or the last 5 years. I don't know if it's selective amnesia or just plain out ignorance, but Kaieteur News has been exposing all the corrupt deals with all the politicians come from PNC, APNU, PPP. This is not an anti-PPP thing or an anti-coalition thing. If you do wrong, Kaieteur News will expose it. We will highlight it. So to those comments and those people who may have the impression that we are one-sided, it's out of the question.
Kaieteur News was never silent. Kaieteur News was never silent while anyone was disrespecting Guyanese, was taking advantage of Guyanese. Kaieteur News is the conscience of its nation. Kaieteur News has never been silent and will never be silenced. We will keep on speaking to our last breath.
Well, it has been that way, and until I am sitting at the helm of the chair, it will continue to be that way, because that's just who I am. You know, I just cannot see a wrong and don't say it. I have to call a spade a spade. And since we would have found oil in 2015, since the announcement of it, I have been on the backs of my reporters to report every single day on it. And we began by highlighting so many ills that faced all these oil producing nations and what happened to them, that when we started doing that, the ministers in the coalition government were so upset, you know, and I could tell you guys so much of them, and what they said came back to me. I said, brother, all I'm doing is telling this nation what happened there so that we do not make the same mistakes, not knowing that these guys already planning to do the same thing. What places like Equatorial Guinea and Nigeria and all these places, Angola, doing? They already tied their feet and their pockets to it. It's only now we are now getting to understand by their silence that they have done the same thing.
Kaieteur News has been exposing the coalition government since the local content policy with Paul from Trinidad, with the coalition government, they fired Paul from Trinidad, and they put the proxy from the United Kingdom. The Kaieteur News has been exposing the coalition government. So where are these people been staying all their life? They have not been reading newspapers. They have not been listening to Kaieteur News.
And it's important to note, Bernard, that we never had a radio station at the time. All we had was a newspaper. So we were there writing about it every day. Week come, months come, years come. We have been writing about it. So it's there. If you just Google Kaieteur News on any subject matter, on anything that I would have spoken tonight, or would have talked about in the several programs we had. We spoke about it in the newspapers.
But people have gone on the wrong impression. Kaieteur News is all about standing up for Guyanese people and giving Guyanese people what belongs to them, what is rightfully theirs. We are not against any politician. We are not against anyone. All we are interested in is to get patriotic citizens, get the politicians to be patriotic, to give what belongs to the people, not to give extra moral preference over Guyanese. The politicians are Guyanese and give the Guyanese people what belongs to Guyanese citizens. That's all we are asking. We are not asking anything extravagant. We are asking to be fair to Guyanese citizens. That's all we are asking.
Bernard, I've exposed so much over the years, and everybody who have been reading the newspapers would understand where I stand, where this entity stands about Guyanese, our patrimony, and where I want to see Guyana, how I want to see my brothers and sisters live. I want a better life. I know we have so much. You know, I went after the bauxite companies, Bai Shenlin. We were the only people that took out Bai Shenlin. Bai Shenlin, had we given Bai Shenlin another 5 years, Bai Shenlin would have emptied Guyana with our forests. You know, I remember chartered a helicopter and go looking for them, find them and see what they have, what deals they were given, and how they were. We were actually paying by Shannon to rape this country, and we are right now we are paying bauxite companies and some gold companies
And the oil companies.
to rape us. That's what we are doing, and we need to stop these things. These are things, Mr. Vice President, we have to stop. And you guys can stop it. If you don't stop it, we will not continue. Stop talking about it until we wake up this land. This land has been far too long been sleeping. So we need to wake them up. And when I wake them up, it may not be very nice for you guys. Both the PPP and the PNC.
Caller on the line, Mr. Lall. Hi, good evening. You're on to Kaieteur Radio.
Yeah, hi. Good evening again, Mr. Glenn. I want to respond to some of the calls and even the Facebook comments. And what I want to say is, first, I want to thank you for the time that you are taking, and I believe people need to appreciate the fact that you take time and research and be able to come up with valid information that the normal man do not have access to. Whether it be right or wrong, I believe Guyanese need to appreciate the fact that you are taking time to expose what you think is wrong. If they agree with it, fine. If they don't, well, then they need to come forward and say that you are wrong, and not just say that if you were the leader, would you have done different? That is not the point here. The point here is that we as Guyanese see that our country are going down the drain, and the wealth of our country is not coming to us. Instead, it is going to just a selective few.
Privileged.
Well, yes. I do not understand how our leaders are not negotiating from a standpoint of advantage. We own the oil. Exxon doesn't own the oil. Why are we subjecting ourselves to Exxon and Exxon's arrangement? That, I believe, has got to change. Our leaders need to understand this is our wealth. This is not Exxon's wealth. They're making us feel and think as though we are dunce and stupid, and we, the normal people, don't understand. If I own a car and I'm selling the car, you can't tell me how much to sell the car for. It's my car. I can sell it for whatever I want, and I can negotiate from a standpoint of power because it's mine. You see? Another thing I don't understand is how all of a sudden our country is poor. What happened to our sugar and our rice and our gold and our timber and our diamond and our bauxite and our aqua farming and everything else? Before oil, were we still a poor country? I believe it's not that. I believe it is poor management, and that has to be addressed.
I agree with you. Fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. Thank you. Well, you talked about we're not getting a renegotiation. We carried a story only yesterday, in which the vice president or the president said that when Lisa One come back for renewal of their permits, we will demand, we will make sure we get what we lost out on. And when I heard that, I'm like, you guys are for real, man. We don't have insurance, and you're not demanding that now. You're waiting until next year. When they come to you for renewal, you will go tell them, well, you got to fulfill a simple requirement like insurance. When I read things like this, sometimes my brain tends to want to fall off the map, thinking about these leaders, and they went about talk about we will try to recapture what we missed out. But guess what? Not a single word you heard them say about how we will claw back some of the money we lost due to the signed contract. Now, you don't want to renegotiate the contract? Fine. Fine. But there are ways in which we can go about clawbacking billions through issuing these permits and licenses.
Okay.
And we can get taxes. Not a single word we hear from them. All they're talking about, well, when they come back for renewal, we will talk to them. And this is the kind of language, this kind of little children language we are hearing from our leaders about this serious, dangerous issue we're dealing with.
But Mr. Glenn, are you sure that it is not a ploy to quiet, for example, your station and others who are talking against this? Had nobody spoken up, would they even say that? Everything was going along as normal. And so in an effort to quiet those who are saying the deal was wrong, they're saying when they come back, we're going to try to get back. It doesn't make sense. It should have been done in the first place.
I agree with you. And I said that earlier tonight. That they're just, but Mr. Jagde only came on that interview, and he chooses who he wants to interview him, because he chose a rookie who doesn't know nothing, and allow him to talk out of his head. And he think that when that goes out there, the nation will say, yeah, okay, well, we vice president, the ex-president talk nice things. I think they bargained for this, what they would have ended up with tonight, by me responding word for word or sentence by sentence to him. So, like I said earlier, I said, I'm waiting for another interview. I don't care. I don't care he doesn't come, or he doesn't go to media houses. But let him have the open discussions. We want to hear them, so we can respond to them. At least we know how and where they're taking Guyana.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I firmly believe that we are entitled to hear from our leaders. We heard a lot from them during the campaign. We are entitled to hear now. Thank you so much for a good program.
To that caller, we are coming down to the final minutes of our show, Mr. Lall. I would like to ask you for your closing comments before we go.
All right. Michaela, a friend told me this morning, tomorrow is not promised. So he's taking one of his neighbor ducks tonight. When I heard that, I laughed. I said to him, I believe many of our leaders thinking in the same way. So please, I told him, please, check your pen, because them ain't gonna take one. Them coming for empty it. just the way they're allowing ExxonMobil to empty our oil resources. Guyana, good night, God bless, and God bless all our politicians.